And welcome to the Public Safety Committee meeting. Today we actually have 3 items on the agenda for the capital improvements program. The first item is about the police, the second item is about corrections and rehabilitation, and the third is fire and rescue. As we begin, I'm going to, Council President Albernaz and Councilmember Hucker, we received an email, I received it this morning, from the Homeowners Association's Falls Ridge Homeowner Association that is requesting that we not vote on the corrections and rehabilitation CIP this morning. They would like to get additional information about the Restoration Concepts project and would like me and others to meet with the public. If it meets with everyone's approval, what I'd like to do is to ask, when we come to that topic, ask that we get all the information that Mr. Dice and Mr. Assant and everybody else has on this, Ms. Farag has on this, and then not vote on it, and then bring it back. Give me a chance to, and others, give us a chance to meet with the public, and then come back and have the discussion and vote. So if that meets with everyone's approval in the committee, that's what I would like to do. But I wanted to mention that up front. Is that okay with you? Yes.
Yes. It's fine, Mr. Chair. I would just ask, I know there's state funding. I believe there's state funding associated with that project, or a request for state funding associated with that project. And I just want to I know that you know the urgency with regards to that issue. And certainly understand I'm respectful of wanting to make sure the community is aware and have their eyes wide open on what we are planning here, but have that not slow us down in order for us to be able to move forward, but educate the community proactively about what's happening.
I know that it's on my schedule for next week to meet with some members of the community. I don't know, as I say, I got this email this morning, so I don't know whether everyone that needs to be there is going to be there, but we will move on it as quickly as we can. Okay.
Great.
Thank you. So on that note, the first item up is police. Unless the committee members have has opening statements on that one, is Farag, who has all done a wonderful job with the memos that are in our packet to lead us through the packet.
Good morning, everybody. You were freezing up a little bit, Councilmember Katz, so I don't know if it's my computer or yours, but I just wanted to let you know in case I drop off the screen somehow. But as you mentioned, this is the capital budget for the police department, FY23 through 28 CIP, and it has a total of 3 projects this time around for a cost of about $49 million over the 6-year schedule. This is an increase of about $4.7 million over the amended CIP that was approved last year of $44.6 million, and that change is primarily due to the scope changes for the 6th District Police Station, which includes improvements to the building's greenhouse gas emissions or net zero, and the additional plans for expenditures for the Outdoor Firearms Training Center. And they are starting to move into the 6-year period. There is an expenditure schedule for you on page 1. As far as public hearing testimony goes, to date, we have received testimony from 2 people who have testified supporting the 6D police station project. So that is the first one I'll discuss today, 6B, on page 2. I have a really big typo right there. It's not 39 million, it's 31 million. The 6D police station serves Gaithersburg and Montgomery Village, and this project was first introduced in the CIP back in FY01 to FY06. At that time, the design was programmed to begin in FY06, and the project got delayed the following CIP cycle and continued to get delayed. And finally, in FY13, this project was indefinitely deferred due to fiscal constraints. The station is currently operating out of leased space in that area, and that lease is up in 2025. The station itself was placed back in the recommended CIP in FY19, and that provided for planning, design, and construction of a new 28,000 square foot police station, as well as about 60,000 square feet for a parking garage. The approved FY19 CIP had construction scheduled to begin in the fall of 2023 and to be completed in the winter of 2025. And this recommended FY23 CIP maintains that same timeline, which is important. The station is supposed to be completed in the winter 2025, and that's exactly when the lease ends for the current space that they are occupying. So as far as current police operational and capital needs for this project, as I stated, the current lease runs out in 2025, but what they're in now is not really ideal. It's less than ideal for modern police operations. There is a need for better and more community relations space. There needs to be appropriate victim and witness interviewing space. And they currently have a lack of secured parking for their police vehicles, which I'm not sure if it's been a problem at 60, but I know that breaking into patrol vehicles at other sites has been a problem in other police stations. So secured parking is critical for this. I also wanted to note that 6D regularly experiences the third highest number of calls for service in the county, behind 3D in Silver Spring and 4D in Wheaton. And there's a chart on the call volume on page 3. So this new building will be developed on Watkins Mill Road between 270 and 355. It'll have 2 floors and provide both unsecured public parking and the secured parking for patrol vehicles. That parking garage will also house an evidence vehicle storage room and will expand motorcycle storage room for Central Traffic Division. New this year for the project is the net zero modifications to ensure that the building is energy efficient and not consuming more energy than it puts out. Mr. Dice had noted in discussions before that the building has always been designed to be energy efficient. This will add additional efficiencies, which have not yet been determined, but that could include the use of solar panels or geothermal energy. I'm recommending approval as submitted on this project, but I also recommend that the police and DGS report back to the committee periodically to provide updates on the progress, just to ensure that the project schedule is not getting delayed.
Thank you very much on that one. First off, I'm concerned about that this lease could end with an 18-month buyout window. So we really might have to be out of there. I mean, not that they've given us the 18 months in notice, but we might have to be out of there by mid 2024 at this point. And so we do need to be working on this to make sure that this doesn't slip. I believe, and Mr. Assant might even remember more than I on this, didn't the city of Gaithersburg actually get the land for this?
Yeah, it was a developer proffer as part of the Watkins Mill approvals. Yes. And
you were planning director at that time, is that correct?
Yeah.
Very good. I remember the fellow who was mayor at that time too.
Yeah.
So anyhow, this has been a project that has been ongoing for quite some time. We've needed it. It's very much dramatically needed. And Ms. Farag, if you have to make a typo, please always do it $8 million to Eric. I think we all would appreciate that. So, any other discussion on this?
Councilmember Katz, if I could, a little bit about the lease. When we renewed for presumably the last time, the landlord insisted on including that 18-month kick-out provision, and that is just a characteristic of the market right now, and us being in a life-size center and still in a one-story flex space that could otherwise be converted. I speak with the landlord on a regular basis, as late as last week, to update him on this particular project, and have provided him both the packet as well as the executive CIP, proposed CIP. He knows that we are making it a priority to begin construction and complete the project. So we are, again, in close communications with Alexandria Real Estate, and we'll continue to do so. And so far, we're on the same page. We don't feel that there's a danger of evoking that 18-month kick out. But clearly, getting this project under construction will speak volumes to reassure them that we are moving in the right direction and will be out shortly.
Good. Thank you. And thanks for that update. Any other discussion on this? Are we all in agreement on this one? This is my acclamation. Yes. Ms. Farag, we're in agreement. We need this station.
Okay.
Did Councilmember Hucker, did you?
I'm all for the project and getting out of lease space generally. Commander Frank, I don't want to get us off topic, Mr. Chair, but as former commander, once the 3rd District Station moved out of Silver Spring and moved up to White Oak, and with increasing crime in Silver Spring, like most places, there's been for years increased concern with Silver Spring residents and feeling like they're less in touch with the 3rd District than they were. And periodically we've had these conversations with the county exec and yourself and Chief Jones about having a 7th District or however you would number it, but something, again, based in Silver Spring to reflect the increased population. Especially even since that's continued even since the 3rd District Station moved away. Are we any farther along on those discussions? I thought that was moving ahead, and then I heard it was sort of put on hold.
Regarding the 7th District?
Yeah.
So the CE looked at that again during COVID time and during budget times, and also looking at our attrition that we were beginning to experience. So right now, the full effort on a 7th District, it's being planned in the background by our planning section for approval at some point. That we'll take it to Chief Jones has advocated for it, and we'll take it to the CE once we have a better plan for it. What I will say is that the new location of the 6th District and the other things that we're going to discuss, they go nicely with any effort that will come in the future for a 7th District.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. So it's not totally stalled out or off the table then.
No, we're still looking. Again, we still have Fire Station 1 down in downtown Silver Spring, and we are looking at projects to refresh that space and to make it usable by more officers. Our main consideration in downtown Silver Spring right now is increasing staffing through hiring, through workload analysis, and then the follow-on piece again, which will have to be in the planning stages, because again, you're going to need a facility more than Fire Station 1, and
right.
I actually, Greg and I talked about that last spring into the summer, and I know it's on his radar, the need down there, and Chief Jones' desire.
Great. Okay. Good to hear. Thank you.
Thank you. And might I suggest, Ms. Frog, if we for an upcoming, and certainly it'll be after this budget, but if we could get an update on that entire situation from public safety, I think that would be something that we need to do. And I know that Councilmember Hucker would certainly like to do that as well.
And my constituents. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And we are getting back to the original discussion here. We are by acclamation approving the 6D police station. All right, please, Ms. Frog.
The next project on page 4 is the Outdoor Firearms Training Center for about $5.6 million. This was originally included in the FY07 to 12 CIP. And I just wanted to note that when I took over the police department budget for council, this was the first site visit I did back in 2009 when Budget Director Neil Shorb extraordinaire took me around to all the different police project sites that were in the CIP at that time. As originally envisioned, this would have had a lot of different types of upgrades, including the extension of the existing pistol range from 25 to 50 yards, the relocation and expansion of the existing rifle range from 5 to 20 positions, and construction of a new obstacle course, new storage, and additional modifications that are listed on page 4. During the recession, the project was delayed due to fiscal constraints, and for FY13 to 18, it was actually pulled from the CIP altogether for reconsideration of its program of requirements. And they made some modest upgrades, which included ammunition bunkers, security upgrades, and perimeter fencing, and they used that under existing appropriation authority at the time. For FY21-26, the project was revised to include the expansion of the rifle range and the enlargement of the pistol range. The earthen protection berms on both sides and at the end of the rifle range will be increased and refurbished, and the rifle range will be widened to create more lanes. The pistol range will be lengthened now from 25 to 75 yards. Most of the total project costs can be attributed to the range expansions, and much of that cost is actually site work and base infrastructure costs, such as stormwater management. Again, it's about $5.5 million. There is a $612,000 increase this year just due to project cost escalation from prior years. Design scheduled for FY24 and completion of construction is scheduled for FY28. I just wanted to note operationally that this facility is really important for ongoing weapons training for the department, and other law enforcement agencies use it as well. And when it was originally designed, the 5-lane rifle range was built to meet the training needs of a much smaller SWAT team. They have training needs including multiple qualification training sessions per year, multiple patrol rifle classes per year, as well as unscheduled practices by individual officers. And this expanded range would allow for more reality-based mock scenario training, which is viewed as the best training practice for use of force incidents. And again, I'm recommending approval of this as submitted.
Thank you. I certainly am in support of this one as well. Is there any other comment on this one? No, then we will approve that by acclamation, please.
Okay. The next one is Public Safety Communications Center Phase 2 for about $15 million. This is the 911 call center. It's a 2-story office building. It was built originally in 1981. It's had renovations in 2003 and 2013 and 2016. It was leased for a long time, but the county has purchased the building back in 2019. That project, that PDF that provided for both the purchase of the building and replacement of mission critical HVAC systems. So this project that you're discussing today is going to replace the remaining HVAC systems in the building, which are either original to the building or 19 years old. Again, it's about a $15 million cost, and it's going to provide for building system improvements that are listed on page 5, and that's HVAC system, generator plant, the electrical distribution system, some water, condenser water systems, and rooftop units. Design will occur FY22, followed by 2 years of construction starting in the winter of 2023. These systems are critical to support 911 renovations or operations, so they have applied to the Maryland 911 Trust Fund to get reimbursement for some of this project. Mr. Ma told me a day or two ago that the 911 board approved $328,000 for the design phase of this, and they will request additional funding for construction when they get to that point. Again, I'm recommending approval as submitted.
Thank you. Certainly, I'm supportive of this. Are there any other comments? There is none, so that one is by acclamation as well. And I believe you have another project for us.
Well, yes, you've got a couple of police projects that are in facility planning, general government, and that includes the 4th District Police Station in Wheaton and the Alternate Emergency Communications Center. And I'll go through the 4th District one first. These are 2 potential projects that DGS and other county partners are looking at, whether or not to develop a new project to move toward renovation or even a new building based on various different criteria. This building, the 4D station, was built in 1959, and I believe it's the oldest county police facility that they still have. It's approximately 11,000 square feet of office space, which doesn't meet today's staffing and program requirements. Standard plans for modern police facilities have almost 3 times that space. And for example, the 3D station in Silver Spring has about 30,000 square feet. The new 2D station in Bethesda has 32,000 square feet, and the POR of the 6D station that we just discussed has 28,000 square feet. And while there is sufficient community parking on that site, it doesn't provide for adequately secured parking for the patrol vehicles. And I believe there that they have had some break-ins in patrol cars in the parking lot. So the building's been subject to significant health and safety concerns. There have been 164 repair order tickets that were generated in 2021. Mr. Ma has indicated they currently have 15 open tickets now. And those types of concerns deal with failing plumbing, sewer backups, HVAC failures, leaks, and mold. I've also been told by DGS that they have an HVAC project in the works for this site, but I don't know what the cost is for that or how long that'll take at this point. The current alternate emergency communication center, that was the original 911 call center here in Rockville, and it serves as a duplicate communication center when needed. Staff regularly relocate to this site while the public safety communication center is undergoing renovations and systems upgrades. It does not, however, support the best operational configuration due to space limitations. While funded, the also doesn't have radio backup equipment that's equivalent to the one up in Public Safety Communications Center. That work is still in the planning phase of architecture, and space at the current location is a concern. So there are challenges, ongoing challenges as well with networking issues. And as the department expands to the use of next generation 911 and potentially needs more staff and resources to synthesize large amounts of voice, text, video, and picture data, this site will have even more challenging location problems to conduct the appropriate emergency communication services. So I wanted to put both of those projects on your radar. Failure to replace those sites in a timely manner is going to continue to hinder the provision of optimal public safety services. And at this point, there's no recommendation to be made here other than I would recommend that the council, again, also periodically follow progress on where these two projects are moving.
I agree with everything that you just said. Thank you. Any other comments on this one? This will, I don't know that we actually need approval on that, but we certainly want to make certain that we're kept up to date and that these move along as quickly as possible.
Right. At this point, we can schedule an update briefing possibly in November on a variety of these projects that are in the police budget right now. So.
Okay. I think that sounds fair. Very good. Anything else on these? If not, we're going to move on to the second item. We're fine. Ms. Frog?
Okay. This one is for corrections. CIP has 4 projects this year for a total cost of almost $79 million. It's an increase of $73 million over the approved FY 21-26 amended CIP. That had only had $5.5 million at the time. And this change is primarily due to the fact that they have added design and construction for the Criminal Justice Complex project. They've also included 2 new projects, which includes the MCCF Refresh project and the MCCF and MCDC Wi-Fi project. I have noted some issues for the committee consideration, and Chair Katz mentioned part of this at the beginning. This Criminal Justice Complex project has been in the CIP since, as my son would say, since the 1900s, right? I believe 97. And that was due to the 2 jails.
Thank Adam for us very much.
Yes, I will.
Yeah. I appreciate it. Making everybody feel very young. Yeah.
Yes, he reminds
me. I believe the chair is from the 1900s too, isn't it?
He is, the early part of the 1900s. Yeah. Go ahead, but this has deteriorated very quickly. Go ahead, please.
Did. So the CJC, like I said, is newly funded this year, but it's been in the CIP forever. After many different design iterations and funding delays. What's different this year is you have the proposed Restoration Center concept, which is split off into a standalone project on the same 7 Locks Road site. So there, and this, while it used to be, those functions used to be part of the Criminal Justice Complex project, they are no longer. They're their own separate project now. It is being considered, and I believe it was considered by the HHS committee already. And that the HHS committee unanimously supported the Restoration Center project when they reviewed it. In addition to this, there is consideration about the 7 Locks site for potentially relocating the Shady Grove bus depot. But I also wanted to stress that there is no funding in the 6-year expenditure schedule for that yet. The funding is in the out years. And the council, since these are 3 different projects housed in 3 different committees, the council is currently developing a coordinated approach to reviewing all projects at once that may be located at the 7 Locks site. I don't have details on that yet. As soon as we get something ironed down, I will send that out to all the interested parties. So to date, the council has not received any public hearing testimony on the corrections specific projects. And I was going to start with the Criminal Justice Complex.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, if Mr. Dice or Mr. Assant want to jump in at any time, please just let me know, please. Yes, Mr. Dice.
Well, I thought it would be appropriate. Thank you. I think it would be appropriate to frame these projects. 2 of them are certainly complementary, the CJC and the Restoration Center. The third that Ms. Farag has brought up in the packet is not tied or connected in any way to the corrections projects. Regarding the corrections facilities, Of course, as the council members know, I not only design and build these things, but I have to maintain them as well. And the CJC is in a gross state of deterioration. We are trying to stay ahead of the facility issues. About 10 years ago, we put $7 million into stabilizing that facility, at which point I guaranteed those stabilizing factors would last for about 10 years. They did. They definitely lasted, but they won't last indefinitely. So I, as the facility manager, and I'm sure my colleague, Director Talley will agree, we share a grave concern about the facility, maintaining it and providing humane services to the population that goes through that facility. And we would urge the council to consider that in looking at a new and modern CJC. Phase one of this, and I'm probably stealing Ms. Farrag's thunder, so I apologize, Susan, up front, but this phase one with the Restoration Center is also a very important project. And I'm sure HHS staff as well as correction staff can speak eloquently to that. Under phase one, we would do the Restoration Center and site improvements that would provide for the future CJC once that was adequately funded in the CIP plan. So again, the Restoration Center and the CJC are complementary projects. So the depot is still very early in its consideration and unrelated to doing the necessary work that the correctional facilities require. So I can withhold further comment on any of those things until they come up. But if the committee is considering some actions or disparate actions on these things, I would focus on the two, the CJC and the Restoration Center, distinct from the depot.
Thank you. And I do see that Director Talley is here from the DSCR. Director, did you have any comments?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. I just echo what Director Dice has said. We're at this end of the road here for the MCDC facility. We are spending excessive amounts of money to try to maintain operations at that facility. And as he said, the work environment for the employees and also the living environment for those who are in our custody are not at the best. They're not even at average. And so when you have continuous plumbing and AC and heating and flooding and different maintenance issues and smells, it becomes overwhelming. And I know it's overwhelming for Director Dice's staff and department. And we keep patching things, patching. And it's at a point where we can't patch anymore. And so we have done our best to scale down the Taj Mahal that was presented years ago. And this is, the best plan that we believe moving forward can meet the needs of us continuing to operate and perform our functions of the CPU central processing unit, maintaining those in our custody, and also deflecting those with behavioral health needs from the Restoration Center as we can, or deflecting them from the Criminal Justice Center with this 24/7 crisis now model that HHS plans to have there on the Restoration Center site. And so I'll answer questions as we go along, but I don't know how much more I can add to what Director Dice has already said about the status and the status of the MCDC site. So
thank you very much for your comments. I don't know if you were on earlier when I asked that we get the updates. You were, okay. But that we delay so that we can meet with the public, and we will do that as quickly as we can. Council President.
Thank you so much, Director Talley and Director Dice. That's very compelling testimony. And we're obviously looking at this exclusively through the lens of public safety right now, but I think that this project in particular warrants a broader focus and scope among all of our colleagues, and recognizing that it's leading to operational challenges for an operation that's already challenging on a good day. And I think it also just sort of speaks very much, I'm sure we're spending a lot of money fixing things too, and just kind of hemorrhaging resources. I was there 10 years ago. I remember the broke fix policy we had to enact when we didn't have any money. And so the Caulfield Community Center is coming to mind. So I do think we need to bite the bullet on projects like this clearly, but Director Dice, if there are other just chronically challenged buildings, such as the one that's been described now, and I think it'd be helpful for all of my colleagues to get a list of those chronically failing buildings that are failing our employees or staff and the residents that we are trying to serve, so that as we try to prioritize and make sense of all of this within committee work, the projects like this need to have a different scope and perspective, in my opinion. So that's just something I would request, Susan, is that we work with central office staff and DGS as we have a broad discussion, and maybe at the outset as we have CIP sessions when we get to full council, we have to do these structured in committee, but we can have a running list of those just chronic buildings that are frankly an embarrassment that we need to do something about.
If I can, we're more than happy to do that. I could have that list for you shortly. But the one thing, of course, that's obviously different about correctional facilities is at all of my other buildings, people can elect to come and go. We don't have a population in corrections that has that luxury.
Yeah, no, amen. And I think that just sort of underscores, in addition to on the merits, the building and the facility issues, which you've made clear are just well past their expiration date. You have the underlying issue of operational issues that, again, is making a really tough job even harder. So it's a point well taken, Director Dice.
If I can just add one more thing, because I want to make sure, I know this is a public forum and folks are listening. And I also want to make sure that the public understands, as I know the council members do, that this is not like something we have neglected over the years and suddenly woke up and go, oh my gosh, what happened? We've been aware of this. This is not a sexy project. And when prioritizations have been made as funding, there are other things that have risen to the top. This is a less comely part of the county body, but it's at the point now where if we don't fix this, it's going to affect the rest of the body. So it's risen to the point where, in my professional judgment, it can no longer be deferred.
Okay. That makes sense. And I'll just one final note just on this general topic. I had the chance yesterday to visit, and I know Councilmember Katz has been there, the warehouse facility of MCPS in the city of Rockville.
Yeah.
It's a dilapidated building that is not even close to meeting needs. We've got these trailers that are out there that are housing the supplies and materials that are leaking constantly, and it just isn't even coming close to fit the needs of the 15th largest school district in the country. And there's an option on the table for that, and I want to follow up in subsequent meetings, not here. But it's another example of one of those chronic issues that's not a sexy project, but that is slowing us down operationally. So if we can get a list of projects like that,
yeah, I'm happy to, sure.
Moving this up. And I didn't in any way mean to imply that this has been neglected. I know it has not. But as you said, priorities, priorities. And this is something that obviously needs to move up.
Thank you. And I always like to point out when we talk about the project on Stone Street that some of those trailers are from Heckingers. And Heckingers hasn't been, that's true. And Heckingers hasn't been in business for many, many years in Montgomery County, and I think even beyond that. So, but if we can, and I know we're putting the cart a little bit in front of the horse here, but Mr. Dice and Mr. Son, how much outreach have we had with the public. I know that you met with the city of Rockville. You gave them an update a couple weeks ago, last week, a couple weeks ago, on this one project. Has there been any other discussions at all with the public?
No, our traditional approach to these sorts of projects, of course, is to brief the leadership in those respective areas. Of course, as you know, we've met with individual council members. We had met with the city manager a month or so ago, briefed the city council this past Monday. And our standard practice, after having made sure that the political and governing leadership is aware of plans and intents, would be then to hold public meetings, because when we do that in the reverse, the leadership understandably says, how come we didn't know? So our practice is to first inform governing leadership and then meet with constituent groups impacted by that. So we would certainly do that. And Committee Chair Katz, you're well aware of our practice that we are actively involved in meeting with community and hearing them out and helping everyone to understand both the need and incorporate their concerns as we do our project planning. So that is a well-established practice of community engagement. We're just not at that stage now that we've informed everybody. And frankly, a lot of our plans regarding the depot itself have been evolutionary. So we're at a better point now, working with schools as well as the site design. But just one last thing, I want to underscore again, in deference to my corrections colleagues, that project is unrelated to what the committee has in front of it now. And action on the corrections issues in no way represents permission and authorization to proceed with the depot.
And I appreciate all of that, but I think, when we have these discussions, there's information and there's misinformation that people have heard, and we need to clear up as best we can and hear from everyone to know what is being said and what needs to be discussed. So I'm going to turn back to Ms. Farag to get us through this packet, but I do believe that we need to be getting information out as quickly as we can and getting back to the Public Safety Committee so that we can make recommendations. Ms. Farag, can you please, unless there's other comments, can you please lead us through the rest of this packet, please?
Yes, I actually still have a couple things to say about the CJC, if that's okay with you.
Please, absolutely.
I just wanted to let you know that designs program to begin in 2023 and construction in spring of 2026. As both Mr. Dice and Ms. Talley have mentioned, there's been significant stabilization done at MCDC, which is the current site, and we're going to discuss that right now after this, because there's still more money getting sunk into that site. But it's a very difficult and stressful situation for staff who are working. You have staff in there 24/7, and you have arrestees who are in there 24/7 and cannot leave, right? They cannot leave, and the conditions are deteriorating. The Public Safety Commission spent 2 years, I believe, back in 2012 to 2013, discussing at length the restoration that was being done to MCDC. As former Director Rob Green used to say, that the paint was just slipping off the walls there. It was just in really bad shape. And a lot of stabilization's been done. There still has to be more done, but it is a place where people are living 24/7. And I just wanted to underscore that point and also state, when the committee does start looking at design for this facility, I wanted to remind them that there was a 2014 Master Facilities Confinement Study done by an outside consultant that was trying to project bed space at pre-release MCDC and MCCF, right? And based on a bunch of changing conditions, both within how corrections are performed, as well as external systemic issues that they have no control of. Who's given bail, who's not given bail, who's under supervision, how are we going to deal with deflection, right? So, and, back then crime was dropping every single year. Crime's on an uptick now, right? So there's a lot of variables going on in how to really construct appropriate and necessary bed space and space for operations too. So wherever this goes during the CIP budget process, I am recommending that the committee come back again and get briefings from DSCR and DGS on how design is going for this facility.
Okay. Any comments on this? Okay, we're fine. Thank you.
So the next one is MCDC partial demolition and renovation, and that's about $4.8 million. Again, the original facility there at 7 Locks was built in 1961. The high-rise tower and other modular units were added later. This has been in and out of the CIP, funded and not funded, changed and delayed. So the current project is, since the CJC has been delayed for several years, this project was added to the CIP in FY21, and it is renovating certain areas of the facility and demolishing vacant space, including the high-rise tower and 5 vacant modular units. Construction started in mid-2021 and is scheduled for completion in fall 2022. That's just a little bit of a delay. And because of that delay, though, funding has moved into the 6-year period of the CIP. So I'm recommending approval on that project too, as submitted.
Okay. Any comments on that one? All right, let's move on, please.
The Montgomery County Correctional Facility and Community Corrections Wi-Fi project is new this year. It's a little less than $1 million, and that is adding Wi-Fi to several facilities within DSCR, which will enhance implementation of the new electronic health records system that they have. It'll improve work productivity and provide advanced learning technology for the staff and inmate population. Right now, many employees are working off of network cables, which is less than ideal in jail environments, to connect to the internet and access files. And that's only where a network cable might be available. That's not necessarily where they need to access it. Implementation for MCCF housing areas is programmed for FY23. MCCF administrative areas and MCDC Wi-Fi upgrades are programmed for FY24. And community corrections is programmed for FY25. I'm recommending approval of that project as submitted as well.
Would it matter if we did approve this one today, or can it wait when we do it in general? I'm asking Mr. Assant or Mr. Dice. I mean, this one certainly has nothing to do with the concerns of the other from the neighborhood that I was discussing.
Are we talking about the Wi-Fi?
Yeah, the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that is completely unrelated, and this is really more driven by TEBS, but it is not impacted directly. I believe our staff's worked with TEBS and corrections. It's certainly not doing in any of those areas that are anticipated for demolition, so it shouldn't have an impact at all.
Well, if that's the case, and I see Director Talley shaking her head, so if that's the case, I believe we should approve the Wi-Fi. I think that's been needed for quite some time, and there could be a safety factor involved with that. So if my committee agrees with that, then that would be by acclamation. I see a couple thumbs up there, so okay. So that one we are agreeing to. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay, great. The next one is MCCF Refresh, and this project is new this year as well for about $4 million. That facility was built in 2003, and it's had limited capital improvements since then, despite some significant wear and tear. This project provides for medical unit modifications and the remediation of clogged vents in inmate cells. The medical unit modifications include moving a nurse and correctional officer station to improve sight lines, increase female inmate capacity, increase inmate holding cell space, and other adjustments needed for the program. It also provides for paint throughout the facility and carpet replacement in administrative areas. Again, there's a lot of pressure on the medical unit and the different types of programming that the jail has to offer to people, including the medication-assisted treatment program that's mandated by the state. The vent remediation is required to provide adequate air quality to inmate populations, and the initial planning of the medical unit modifications and vent remediation both will begin in FY23. Funding to support the medical unit modification and vent remediation is programmed into FY24 and FY25, and the repainting and carpeting is programmed for FY26 and FY27. Again, I'm recommending approval as submitted.
And there again, I have no problem with this one as well. Any comment from on this? Are we?
Looks good to me.
Go ahead, please. I didn't hear you.
I agree, Mr. Chairman.
Very good, thank you. And Council President, are you in agreement? So on this one, Ms. Frog, we're going to do that one by acclamation.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I've got the record straight for all of the corrections projects. You are voting 3-0 approval, other than the criminal justice complex, for which a vote will be delayed.
That is correct. Unless
Okay.
I always say it's not when I'm wrong. It's not if I'm wrong. It's when I'm wrong. So if the committee will agree with that, but that is where we are.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you very much. And with that, we're going to move on to item number 3. Ms. Frog, if you will lead us through that, please.
So the last one for this morning is fire. The recommended FY 23 to 28 CIP has 11 projects, and that totals 126 million over the 6-year schedule. That's about a 4.7 million increase from the approved amended CIP. The cost increases are primarily due to White Flint Fire Station net zero enhancements, as well as some cost escalation in various other projects. And there is a total expenditure schedule for your review on page 2. To date, we have not received any public hearing testimony on any of the fire department projects. So I'm going to go through the individual projects first and then hit on the level of effort projects. The first one is Clarksburg Fire Station 35 for about $35 million. And as you know, they broke ground on this last December. It provides for a new 24,000 square foot fire station, 2 stories, and includes apparatus bays, personal protective equipment storage, dormitory and support space, living and dining areas, administrative offices, and a meeting training room. It also contains space for a police satellite facility, and additional space for Up County Regional Services Center. Clarksburg is currently being served by a fully functional fire station, which is in leased space. The total project costs for this are $35 million, and project costs remain the same from the approved FY 21-26 CIP. The next 2 projects I have are LFRD renovations, and they include Glen Echo and Rockville Fire Station 3 for Glen Echo Station 11. Planning funds are programmed in FY 23. The station remains fully operational right now, and the volunteer fire department there and fire and rescue are continuing to work through the planning process. It's going to provide for the renovation of the existing 10,800 square foot space, and that includes all heating, ventilation, air conditioning, electrical and life safety systems, correction of code and ADA compliance issues, and various other issues at the site. For Rockville, that one's been in the CIP for several years as well, and they continue to work on planning. That station was constructed in 1965, and that scope of work includes structural repairs, ADA accessibility improvements, addition to increased living and bunk space and maintenance bay reconfiguration and conversion of a locker area, as well as other improvements. Funding for that, again, is planning funding, and that's been pushed out to FY 24 due to ongoing project delays. And I meant to say I'm recommending approval of all of those as submitted so far.
Yes, we all realize that and should realize that. Yes.
White Flint 23 is about $38 million, and that is going to provide for a new 5-bay station in the Rockville White Flint area and the purchase of associated apparatus. They've got the site acquired, and it's near 355 and Randolph Road, and one side of the property borders on Chapman Avenue. The existing Rockville Fire Station 23, which is on Rollins Avenue, only has 2 bays, and it's very undersized to meet current response time needs. A new station is necessary in this area due to the projected population density for Rockville and White Flint area, which has been growing exponentially over the past several years. And the population is expected to continue to increase. And relocation of that Station 23 over to the White Flint area is needed to better position the station in relation to the high density development in the approved White Flint area. So one of the things we haven't discussed, and I thought it would be helpful for the committee to better understand, is since the area has built up so much, what is the call volume like in that region? How has it changed? The planning for the fire station was predicated on rapid development in the White Flint sector plan, but this has, and that includes Pike and Rose, but it's been delayed And this project is deferred again for 1 year due to fiscal capacity. Design is supposed to start in FY24 and construction is expected to begin in the summer of 2024. And depending, it would be helpful if Fire and Rescue could explain a little bit about what the call volume and the call load is like in this area, because if it is significant, I recommend expediting this project by a year.
Thank you. And we're pleased to have Chief Goldstein with us. And Chief Goldstein, would you like to comment, please?
Sure. Thank you very much. The call volume in 23 specific area has shown gradual increase. It has not seen a rapid spike through the increase in Pike and Rose. One of the things we looked at in discussion with OMB on this is as Pike and Rose practically came about in the 14/15 area, comparing the call volume then until to 2019 and what type of increases we are seeing. That specific geographic area of the Pike and Rose is not driving a increase in volume of calls. There's a little bit of an increase behind the proposed station in the McGrath and in the area behind NRC as that those properties have grown, but that's not a significant leap. The population has grown naturally as those developments have occurred, but the call volume has not jumped up to levels of a concern. The packet outlines that Rollins Avenue facility is at the brim and is full, and the new facility gives additional bay space and has the plans for a couple new resources. But the call volume has not shifted and remains in equal increments as the other parts of the county have seen.
I did want to provide a little bit of context. I mean, this is one that we did push out as a result of fiscal capacity constraints, and certainly we wanted to maintain the initial schedule, but given the capacity issues in the first couple of years of the 6-year period, particularly with the school system, we had to look to projects that were not yet under construction, and of course this is one of those. So I just wanted to provide some more context on that point.
Ms. Frog, any comment on?
The only other point that I'll bring up is that since it has been delayed, the costs continue to escalate, especially during this time of inflation. That could be more concerning. But the biggest driver of the cost escalation for this is, again, net zero modifications for the building. At this point, I'm not going to recommend any change.
Okay, thank you. Any comment on that? All right. Any other discussion, please, Ms. Frog?
I'm just going to move on to apparatus replacement.
Please.
Okay.
Yep.
So that one's $127 million. There is a schedule on page 5 that I just did a very brief schedule of the different types of apparatus that will be replaced in what fiscal year. There's a much better schedule for your consideration on Circle 28 that was provided by Fire and Rescue. And this just provides for the ongoing replacement of fire apparatus and EMS vehicles. And the list, I just wanted to caution that it may change slightly as needs are constantly reassessed. But this is the best assessment right now for what they're going to do over the next 6 years. It's funded with short-term financing and fire funds, and that includes EMST funds or fee revenue. Debt service is paid from the operating budget, and that includes EMST revenue as a source. I'm recommending approval as submitted.
Okay. I believe we're all in agreement with that as well. Yes? Yes. Okay.
The heart monitor defib replacement is $1.7 million. That's an increase from last year. The project was new in FY22, and it provided for the purchase of 27 Stryker Life Pack 15 heart monitors and defibs that are assigned to ALS transport units and paramedic chase cars, engines, and training facilities. And the original cost at that time was $710,000. The recommended FY23 CIP increases the number purchased to 81, from 27 to 81. And this equipment has a useful life of about 5 to 8 years and has to be replaced to ensure the operability of critical life-saving equipment. The units are purchased through a master lease program, and I am recommending approval for that.
Okay. Any comment? We're good? please.
The level of effort projects or ongoing projects that continue to be scheduled through the CIP. The first one is the female facility upgrade for about 2.2 million. And that provides for the design and construction of locker, shower, and restrooms at selected fire stations to accommodate the use of those facilities by both male and female staff. The design for Gaithersburg Fire Station 8 will be scheduled in coordination with the local volunteer fire department there.
Okay.
The fire station life safety systems for about 4.7 million. That's the design and construction of modern life safety systems like fire alarms with voice capabilities, sprinkler activation for fire suppression, fire and smoke detection, flow and tamper switches, and smoke control systems. Numerous fire stations in the county lack the modern basic life safety systems. In many of the older stations, there were no fire alarms or sprinklers, and they were grandfathered in under the fire code. So this helps bring all the facilities back up to code.
Okay.
For HVAC and electric replacement, 18.7 million. This provides for the replacement and repair of HVAC systems at different fire stations. The current candidate projects were identified through HVAC and electrical system condition assessment study of 20 fire stations back in 2019. Yes, so they've determined that 20 fire stations will be renovated. For resurfacing fire stations, that's a $5 million project, and that just provides for the repair and replacement of paved services at the fire and rescue stations. The project costs over the 6-year period have increased by about 1.2 million, and that reflects the impact of the new ADA requirements and adding funding for projects in FY27 and FY28. Roof replacement, that's $5.8 million, and that provides obviously for the replacement of roofs at the fire and rescue stations where they're in very poor and deteriorating condition. One station roof is programmed annually, and expenditures increase by about 700,000, and that just reflects the addition of projects in FY27 and FY28. So as stated before, I'm recommending approval on all projects as submitted.
Thank you very, very much. Any comment on any of the projects? I certainly am in favor of all of them. Council President.
I'm very much in favor of all of them. Just on a significantly lighter note, going back to Glen Echo, I spent most of my youth in the basketball court next to the volunteer fire department there. And would often play with the volunteer firefighters who were at the station. So I know that project well, know that community well, and I'm excited about it.
And if anybody has any of the filmed highlights of you dunking the ball, we would certainly like to see that, please. Anything else on these? Ms. Frog, we're going to approve these by acclamation. Okay.
And I just wanted to note.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to note that we will follow up on the 7 Lock site and how the council chooses to address that, and keep everyone informed when that happens.
Please, and we will. As I say, I know that we're meeting with some people next week. We will keep you informed of how we're doing. And maybe we'll even pester Mr. Dice or Mr. Santa try to join us at one of those meetings. So
I think we would very much like to participate in that as opposed to having subsequent follow-ups. I'd rather be part of those.
Okay, we will do that. We will take care of that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being with us. We are adjourned. I think it should be noted that the Public Safety Committee and Government Operations are meeting again this afternoon at 1:30. So I get to see everyone smiling, many smiling faces again this afternoon. Thank you very much. We are adjourned.